Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the second episode of the We'll Just Talk show. Uh, so for today, we want to do something a little bit different than we did for the first episode. First episode is just kind of rambling, just trying to figure things out. But for this episode, we want to talk about our 2025 New Year's resolutions. Just kind of reflect on the last year and plan out this next year and see where we're gonna go, and then ask some questions, and maybe you guys can get some good information. And if you don't already have some resolutions, you can always listen to this, and maybe you'll get some ideas. So, I am your co-host, Will. Justin, do you want to say something?
Hello, guys. I'm Justin, same guy from the previous episode. And yeah, to piggyback off of what William was talking about, really just talking and touching base on locking in. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with that term by
Oh
now,
yeah.
but lock in, right? Like, what does it mean and how can we lock in, not just us, but all together, right? So, yeah, just kind of diving into what locked in means. So I guess in terms of changing your mindset on something, right? Like a lot of us probably are familiar with procrastination, playing video games, and really just not putting things that you should in front. So back burner stuff, right? And 2025 is all about locking in, whether that be locking in on studying, getting stuff done first, taking care of yourself before other things like making your bed. Like it could be as simplistic as making your bed, right? So, kind of diving in on that and what that means for us um, in 2025. Yes.
So I'll just start us off. Might as well. Let's reflect a little bit on this last year, 2024. Did you have any resolutions last year that you made, or that you hit, or that you didn't hit? And which ones did you hit? Which ones didn't you hit? And why do you think you didn't hit them?
That's a great question. I did definitely have a resolution to hit the gym more and cook for myself more, but I kind of fell through mid-year. And someone like me, what happens is I go so gung-ho on one thing in particular, and then I live and breathe that for 3 months straight. And then after that 90 days, like I miss one day and it all crumbles, right? So I have a plan as far as working out. I have a plan as far as eating. My resolution now for 2025 is very similar to 2024, but except I'm not going to go as hard. I think, in a sense, still be just as hard. And what I mean by that is my previous resolution was, okay, Justin, you're going to hit the gym 5 days a week minimum. 5 days is what you need. No ifs, ands, or buts. And what would happen is I would miss that fifth or fourth or fifth day, and then I would subconsciously say, well, or consciously say, well, now everything's kind of ruined. Um, then the rest of the 4 days out of the week, because you guys know there's 7 days out of the week, and if I'm done by day four, the rest of those other days were cheat days. I would basically just pig out, do whatever I wanted, right? So, and not really take into account my what I just did the past 4 days. So instead of doing that, my new goal for 2025 is hitting the gym 3 days a week, but just as effective push pull legs, and then Thursday and Friday, one of the two, either jujitsu or kickboxing. And I think what that will do is deter me from the um like the burnout stage, right? Like that was always
Mhm.
my biggest thing was burning out. And by doing this consistently, like 60, if you give it your 60%, 100% of the time, it's better than 100% of the time sometimes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So building a base and building that discipline and then working up from there.
Mhm. Yeah, I like what you said about, you don't have to go gung ho every single day because some days you're just not going to feel 100%. But even if you give, like you said, 60%, 100% of the days, like you're going to make progress. It's not necessarily about, going super hard on working out or your business or work for 3 days straight and then taking 2 weeks off. Like that's not going to really move the needle that much. It's really just about consistency and just doing a little bit every single day. Like you can work yourself up to it. You're not going to go into the gym today and hit, 500 pounds on a deadlift. Like, but you can work your way up to it every week, and then eventually you'll get there. So I think people are really hard on themselves when they're like, "Oh, I did everything perfect today. Tomorrow has to be perfect." And then tomorrow comes and they, have some cookies or something and they're like, "Oh my God, the whole day is ruined." And then they just kind of go down the deep end and, keep eating more cookies and just the next 3 days, 4 days are messed up because they quote unquote messed up one day. But yeah, I like what you say, just be consistent. Like just start a little bit, just a little bit. Like even with this podcast, like we're doing, like just one podcast a week, two podcasts a week, see where it goes. Maybe eventually we'll be doing something a lot more than just this, but it's just about keeping that consistency and making sure, like, hey, today's Monday, we got to have something uploaded by tonight. And if we keep doing that every single week, eventually it's going to be a habit. After I think it's what, 21 days it takes to build a habit. So after 21 days of doing this kind of stuff, it's just to be like, oh, it's Monday, podcast time. Like, it's not going to be something we think about. And same goes for you guys. Like, you hit the gym every single day, 4 or 5 times a week for 3 weeks. It's just, oh, it's Monday, it's gym time. Like it's not something you think about too much. So yeah, I like what you said about that. I guess I'll just go into like my last year resolutions. I didn't have too many resolutions, and unfortunately, the ones I did have, I don't think I really hit. Um, I'm trying to get into really good shape. I was in pretty decent shape like 2 years ago. Definitely let myself go a little bit and gain some weight. So just trying to lean lean out now. I'm doing pretty good now with this coming up year. I've lost like what 16 pounds in the past like month and a half. So that's good. Still got a long way to go, but just about yeah, like that consistency that Justin was talking about. Just every single day, just doing a little bit and I'll get there. But resolutions for last year. I can't even remember them, honestly. I mean, it was just make money and get in good shape. I feel like that's kind of been my resolution the past couple years, and had a little bit of a hiccup last year. I didn't make that much money and I got fat. So, starting off the year off right now, working on definitely getting a better source of income, and I'm already losing some weight, getting my muscles back, doing well in the gym. So I know if I keep it up by, every single day by January of this coming up year, I'm gonna be definitely in way better shape and have a lot more money than I had. So
Yeah.
those are my resolutions. Same resolutions I had last year, same resolutions I got this year. Just make money, get in shape. Um, I'd like to move out. I'm back with my parents right now. For a little bit of a podcast lore, Justin and I did live together for a little bit, but
Yes,
back,
we
that was just
certainly
like for
did.
college. Oh yeah, that was just for college. Back home now, so definitely working on getting my own place this coming up year, hopefully. But in order to do that, I gotta make more money. So
Yep.
again, I think for most men, definitely in their 20s, I think their main two goals should just be get in good shape and make more money. Like if you do those two things, you're probably gonna be all right. Like obviously, dating is a big thing and mental health and your environment around you. You can work on those little things, but I think the two big things that everybody in their 20s, every young man in their 20s needs to be focusing on is making money, get in good shape. And then everything else will kind of, come as it goes. But those are the two big things that I'm working on. I know Justin's working on, and I think you guys should be working on as well.
Yeah, one of the first things that I do in my day, before I do anything really, is a mindset preparation, right? Like
Mm,
that's in my industry, in sales, what I do, you, you'll have some good days and bad days, and you don't want to bring some of that misfortune that you had from your first call to your second call, right? So, mindset preparation, and this can go for anything. Before you step into work that day, before you step into work at 6 a.m. or 9 a.m., if you have a 9 to 5 or whatever, mindset check. Why are you here? What is your end goal? Why do you want to be there? Like for me, I go to work every day because I have a goal in mind. It's not necessarily a resolution per se, but my goal is to retire early. My goal is to be a millionaire in in a much shorter time span than it takes the average American, right? Like that is my goal. And that's that's kind of going and kind of weaving into my resolutions for 2025 is discipline 60% of the time, 100% of the time. So it's learning every day 60% of the time, taking 15 minutes out of the day to learn something new. And for me, that's Spanish. So honing in on my Spanish speaking skills, reading the book, like reading books, and also just learning on like an app that I have, right? And then um, the budgeting, right? So something that if you're in your 20s is absolutely crucial is budgeting. Find out how much you're spending on certain things and start allocating a specific amount of money to either your savings, your 401k, your Roth IRA, like whatever it is, like you need to save because your your 50-year-old self will be thanking your 20-year-old self. You it breaks my heart every time we see those old people bagging groceries at the store because they ended up having to come out of retirement for some extra cash, right? You don't want
Hmm.
to do that. Like you want to be able to retire and stay retired. That's the whole point of retirement, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so like cooking was another thing on my 2025 list, like meal prepping and being healthier when it comes to what I put inside my body. Definitely that can change for me personally. I don't know about you, William. Do you have anything to say about like healthy food in particular?
Yeah, I feel like I've always been pretty health conscious. Definitely the past, like I started working out at like 14, so the past like 10 years, I've been pretty conscious about what I put into my body. Obviously, I'll have flare-ups where I'll just kind of eat, the whole thing of Oreos. Um, but yeah, thankfully everybody kind of figured that out to an extent. Everybody's, working on it. But right now, I think I mentioned it last podcast, but I'm on the carnivore diet right now. I took a
Oh
little
yeah,
break
how's
for
that been
for New
going for
Year's.
you?
Pretty good. I had a little flare up yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh, just had like some cookies,
So
not the end of the, I mean,
you're a little untraditional when it comes to the carnivore diet. But before when we were talking um before Christmas, I mean you went a pretty good amount of time just straight carnivore. How many days did you
yeah,
end up going?
it was funny enough, it was like 21 days. It was like 3 weeks, like strict carnivore, like nothing else but carnivore foods. And it was good. Like after like a week, you don't even think about it. But before yesterday, I was on it for I think 8 days, like completely fine, no worries. Um, and I don't know, I just really wanted some cookies, so I had some cookies. It's whatever. I
Nice.
mean, I'm back on it today. But that's another thing is like, you know, what we were talking about earlier, like, oh, I messed up one day. Now the whole thing is ruined. Like
Yeah,
it's
like take a
just, just
breather.
start. Yeah, just take a breather. I woke up today, I did my normal routine and I ate my normal lunch, just
Yeah.
some eggs, butter, and I'm going all of my life. Like it's not everything's ruined because I had some cookies yesterday. Um, yeah, I wanted to kind of jump off what you're talking about mindset for sales calls. I think a lot of people can get some value out of that, not just in sales, but in general. I think having a little bit of like a preparation ritual for the day really helps people out.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I find it really useful for sales. I find it really useful for working out. When you're stretching, you're listening to some music, just kind of get into the mindset of like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit this workout. I'm going to hit these lifts. And I think preparing yourself mentally for the day really does help. I don't like the whole like self-improvement thing on YouTube where like people were like, "Oh, I wake up in the morning, I go for a 5 mile run, and then I take an ice bath, and then I journal, and then I meditate, and then it's like 3 hours long." I don't think that's necessary for most people, but I definitely do think that starting your day off right and just kind of putting yourself into that good mental framework of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. Even like the night before, if you want to write down like 3 goals you have the night before, so that as soon as you wake up, you're like, okay, I wrote down the night before what I have to do. Same thing night before. You should get your clothes out in the morning, especially if you're going to the gym in the morning. Just get
There's
your, or,
oh
go on.
sorry. I was just gonna piggyback on that. You could finish your thought.
Okay, no, I was gonna say just like, yeah, just start the night before. Just, the night before, hey, these are my goals for the day. Night before, these are my gym clothes for the morning, so that when you wake up, you don't have to worry about it. It's not like any kind of like
Yeah,
mental space you have to worry about. It's just like
there's
this is what I do.
there's a really good video out on YouTube called How to Quickly Get Out of a Rut by Better Ideas.
Oh, I've watched
And
it. The bald guy?
yeah, the bald
Yeah,
guy.
I've watched
But
that.
it's like 5 years old, and he has some awesome points about like just getting started, right? So something to piggyback on what you were saying about like trajectory, like projecting or projecting yourself to get to that point where you're going to be productive throughout the day. It could be as simple as brushing your teeth. Like use
Hmm.
brushing your teeth to kickstart something you need to do, and then to the point where it'll just become mundane, right? So, or not mundane, but like it'll just be something you put on the back burner, and it's just something
Hmm.
you always do, right? So, something like brushing your teeth when you wake up for the morning before you go out, you usually brush your teeth if you're a pretty sanitary, person. Um, so you brush your teeth, and then what else are you gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna put my clothes on. You have to put your clothes on, right? It's just nature, right? Make certain
Hmm.
things that thing. Oh, it's like now that I have all my clothes, now it's time to make my smoothie. Boom, make your smoothie. Now it's time to fold my, or, make my bed before I go out to work. Boom, make your bed. Like certain things like that. And then it'll just be a snowball effect. Very similar to how you can snowball into bad decisions. You can also snowball into really good decisions, right? Now,
Hmm.
um, and I've been doing this for a couple years on and off, but on now again, where I'm making a smoothie for myself every morning, and it helps me. It keeps me at the weight that I want to be at. It
Hmm.
keeps the amount of healthy foods that I want to be in my system. Just creating consistency and locking in because we're locked in for 2025, guys. Like we
Oh
got some
yeah.
stuff down the pipeline to talk about, I think. I want to hold off on that for later episodes, but we got some stuff down the pipeline for 2025, business wise. So might be able
Hmm.
to kind of talk about that and maybe even end up making some videos on it. So, but yeah, like all nothing but good things coming out in 2025.
Hmm. Yep, for sure. Um, did want to touch on, do you think setting resolutions is actually worth it? Like, do you think that most people that set resolutions actually hit those resolutions?
100%. I would say
Really?
100% because I know people that are still doing things that were purely based off some kind of resolution they did years ago. Like, give you an example. I know I have a friend that is a vegetarian off of like a deer, and they ended up just being straight up vegetarian. Like, you could do that shit with resolutions,
Hmm.
like easily. Let's say, oh, okay, this resolution, I'm gonna quit something. I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm gonna quit drugs. I'm gonna quit alcohol, or I'm gonna quit certain bad things. And it doesn't by no means do you have to quit. And I don't I highly unencourage people to quit anything cold turkey if they're already still addicted to it, because then what's gonna happen is they're gonna relapse, or they're gonna end up just going right back to their old habits.
Hmm.
This is exactly what I do with anything. Like I'll start Monday, go absolutely hard on Monday, like today, with all my goals, and then I'm so drained that Tuesday I don't even do half of what I did on Monday. You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
I'm like, and then I just burn out. So the goal is not to burn out. The goal is to create a lifestyle, right? It's the same thing with diets. Like diets are great and all, but no one ever says that they're on a diet for the rest of their life, right? Like it's a lifestyle. Like if you choose to not eat meat, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, in my opinion, at least. This is all subjective, but you've chosen to live this life of no meat. Um, some would refer to it as a diet. But I guess you can. I don't know, but um, yeah, just making sure we're not getting burnt out. I think resolutions are a great way to push your goals and just get that little extra oomph, because everybody else is doing it. If you look
Hmm.
around, everybody that you know and I know are in some sort of relationship with a resolution, right? So
Hmm.
it's a cool way to just kind of do things together with other people too.
I think people set too many resolutions. I think most people they definitely have like, okay, I have 10 things that I'm going to do this year, and then they might hit one or two, and then like I said, like we were talking about earlier, they hit two of their 10 resolutions, and then they look back at the year, they're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. But they still hit two resolutions. I think people just do it wrong. I think that people make very specific resolutions and too many of them and specific. And I think that you don't know what's going to happen. Like you can have a resolution of I'm going to be the best salesman I can this year. And then a month into the year, you get a really good position for something completely different and you take it. So and then you're making more money, but then just because you took that position doesn't mean that that resolution's over. Like I think that people should make, maybe two or three resolutions for the year, and they should be kind of broad. They shouldn't be super specific because if, let's say, for example, one of my resolutions for this year is to get to 10% body fat, and I'm like 22% body fat. Let's say the whole year I get to like 13% by the end of the year. It's like, oh man, I didn't hit my resolution. It's like, no, but you lost 9% body fat and now you have abs at 13%. So it's like, I think that, a better resolution would have been I want to get in really good shape and feel really good this year so that you would hit that resolution and then you would feel good.
Well,
And then for the next year, you can set up more resolutions.
do you think that person could have gotten to 13% body fat had they not set that goal? Like maybe setting that expectation to be high for themselves got them to that point. Because if we make it broad, right? If we make it as though it's get healthy, I mean, the average healthy person is usually just below 20% body fat, I would say.
Hmm.
Like you don't, so what if that entices them to maybe let's say they did do that goal. Let's say they did do that. I just want to be healthy, and then they ended up instead of being 13%, they ended up at like 15, right? Like
Hmm.
um, so I think it's also setting goals, but also realistic goals, right? Like
Yeah.
associated with that. But no, I think I agree with you with setting too many too many resolutions because then you
Hmm.
end up maybe only actually doing one or two, or they all fall through because you're just so overwhelmed, right?
Hmm.
Like we as humans, we have so much to do throughout one day. Like we have so much to do in one day.
Hmm.
It's absolutely insane. And trying to choose what to do can be a hassle. And by the time you know it, before you know it, it's 3, 4 o'clock, and you're just about, you know, you just ate lunch a couple hours ago. Now you got to worry about dinner.
Hmm.
Like it's crazy. It's a crazy life. But I think that 2025 we're gonna lock in, and I think the next episode let's talk about a little bit more about what we got going on so far. But um yeah, what are we at in terms of time?
We had 7 minutes left.
Okay. What else what was on your list of things you wanted to chat about, Will?
Honestly, we covered mostly everything already. One thing I did have down is how do you stay motivated through the days while you're trying to get your resolutions? But I feel like we already touched on that. Just kind of like we said, like don't go 100% every single day. And then the day that you don't go 100%, you think it's a failure. Just be consistent. Just like little things every single day, like consistency wins. Another thing that I want to touch on about locking in is clean your room. If you're a man and you feel like your life is going all over the place, you like everything's all crazy, just start very, very small and clean your room. I think it was Jordan Peterson that said that. And just clean your room, make your bed, clean your room, pick up the mess, and you're gonna feel a little bit better when you've taken care of that. And then from there, you can use that as a launch pad to be like, okay, I clean my room. Now, what's the next thing I have to do? And then the next thing, and the next thing, and then just slowly building up that momentum. Like, just don't go crazy and try to do 20 different things in a day. Like just have your main points and then same thing like we were talking about earlier with resolutions. Um, I don't think you should have too many resolutions because if you have 10 resolutions, 10 things you want to hit for the year, it takes away like 10 of them they're probably not that important. They're probably like right now, like I said, my only two resolutions are get in shape and make money. Like those are the two main things in my life. Do I want to do other things? Yeah, like I want to, be outdoors in nature more and all that kind of stuff. but those are kind of on the back burner because I have the two main focus ones. And I think when you have too many resolutions and when you have too many things to do in the day, you don't have that many important things to do during the day. Like you don't have 20 super important life or death things to do during the day. You have like one or two. So the night before and for New Year's, you should have like one or two, maybe three things on the agenda so that you have a clear focus and be like, okay, I just have to do this and my life's gonna get better. Or today I just have to do two things and then everything else is kind of extra, but you kind of hit those two things and it's a small win that it's like, hey, today I hit my two things I had to get done. Let me do it again tomorrow, and then again tomorrow, and then again tomorrow. So it's just, this whole episode, I really just want to emphasize just consistency. Um, don't kill yourself doing a bunch of tasks that you don't need to do. Just have one or two, maybe three main things that you want to do for the year and main things that you want to do in the day to get to that bigger goal that you have.
60% of the time, 100% of the time.
Yep.
I think that's what I couldn't agree more. Like I think that's
Hmm.
a big takeaway from this episode is if anything, consistency is key and not burning out, but
Hmm.
starting off reasonable, right?
Yeah,
Cleaning
start
your
small. Like if you're a young guy right now and you have no money and you're really skinny or you're really fat, you've either never been to the gym or you took a long time out. Like you're not, like I said, you're not going to go to the gym and lift 600 pounds today. But what you can do is you can hit 10, 15 push-ups, you can clean your room, and you can start applying to jobs if you don't have a job. Like you can start doing that today.
That's huge.
Like
Like, I would call
yeah,
that a successful day. You did
yeah.
15 push-ups, you cleaned your room, and you fucking oops. But the first one. Hey, that's better than last one.
I think we got
Uh,
three last
yeah,
episode.
yeah,
That's
I was that. Dang. But yeah, I would call that a pretty successful day, you know?
yeah. And then you did that today. It's like, okay, tomorrow, what do I have to do? Okay, my room's already clean. I have to do laundry. Let me do laundry. I'm gonna do 20 push-ups and I'm gonna apply to two more jobs. Like you just do that every day. You just do a little bit more, a little bit more. Same thing in the gym. Just do a little bit more. And but you don't have to start off successful. I think a lot of guys, especially these days with like social media and everything, they feel like they're a failure if they're only making $60,000 a year in a trade job, while
Yeah.
some kid 3 years younger is making a million a month, on a beach with ecom. Like
Yeah.
like they're like, oh man, my life sucks. I'm nothing. But dude, like you don't know his path. You don't know what he had to go through to get there. And maybe, I don't like to say people are lucky, but I mean maybe he got a lucky break. Maybe his dad was a certain thing. Who knows? Like you don't know anybody's story. Like that, social media is social media. But yeah, I think let's wrap up with that. I think that was a pretty good episode.
It was.
Um, yeah, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think that's the biggest takeaway, man. Is consistency. And remember, if you made it this long, the biggest takeaway is 60% of the time, 100% of the time. What's something you could do and give it your 60% and do it
Hmm.
for the rest of your life?
Yep. Okay. Awesome. That was great.
All right, guys.
All right. I'll see you guys next week for the next episode.